Alright, today I'm going to show you how to string your polymer clay beads. And essentially you should have 24 beads, so you've probably got enough to make 2 bracelets like this. If you just want to use, 5, 6, 7 of your very most favorite beads, you could do that like this as well. So let's get started. I've got a long piece of string here. It's 20 inches, and I'm going to on one end tie an overhand knot, and I'm going to do it on here real quick, and then I'll do it on a bigger piece of string, some paracord, so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm going to tie the overhand knot here. So again, what that looks like on a bigger piece of string that you can probably see better, I'm making a loop, and then I'm going to come up through that loop, and I'm trying to snug it as far down to one end as possible. So as I'm tightening it up, I'm just kind of pulling like that. Okay, so that's a simple overhand knot. The other end of my string here, I'm going to take a glue stick with a little glue on it and kind of slick this down, and what that's going to do is kind of keep this from fraying, which is, all the little ends sticking out. So, and that sometimes will keep me from getting this to be able to go through the hole in the beads. So while that's kind of drying, next thing I'm going to do is kind of lay out my pattern here. So I've got a line on here. If I'm really interested in kind of seeing, the maximum number of beads I should be able to fit on there, this is 12, and that'll probably work for everybody. But if you really want to, plan it out nicely, you can draw a straight line here. Next thing I'm going to do is kind of just loosely measure my wrist and with my string here. So that's how long the circumference of my wrist. Okay, so if I were to wrap that around my wrist, that would fit perfectly. We need a little bit of room for our sliding barrel knot. So I'm going to take off an inch and say that this is how much space I have right here for beads. So I'm going to lay out my plan right there. Sometimes these things want to roll away on you, so I'm going to just bend my paper right here to kind of create a little ledge so it at least doesn't roll this direction. So as I'm laying these out, I've got a couple of options as I'm looking. So obviously I can see like size may be an issue. So this one is bigger than the rest. These two are a little bit smaller. So that might play into how I lay them out here. The other thing I've got to consider is, color and shape. Maybe there's just some ugly ones I don't want to use at all. So I'm going to lay out my design here, and then we'll get them strung onto the necklace. All right, so this is the order I want them in. One other thing to consider, if you wanted a little space in between your beads, you could tie an overhand knot in between them to space them out a little bit. In this instance, I'm just going to have them all right up next to each other. So you can see I put the biggest one that I've got right in the middle, and I put the 2 most orange ones at the end here. So I'm just trying to get it symmetrical. So now I'm ready to start putting them on my string here. So as I go, if I run into issues and the thread starts really fraying out badly, I can always trim off just a little bit of it and put a little bit more glue on it. If there's a problem with the hole in the bead, you can get a little drill and clean up that hole a little bit more. But these seem to be going in pretty nicely right now, so I'll just continue that down the line. All right, so I've got my beads on there. I had to trim the end a couple times just to kind of get rid of the frayed stuff there, but we got it. Now I'm going to even these up so that they're in the middle. So you can see they're slid a little too far one way. So I'm going to even them up so the strings are even on the end. And I'm going to tie an overhand knot here and here just to keep them down there. That's optional if you want to do that. I like them to stay where I put them. So again, the good thing about an overhand knot is that I can place it there and it will snug up right up against that bead, and I can kind of move it around a little bit if I need to. So I'm going to repeat that on this end. Okay, so I've got them strung, got them in the middle. Now we're going to talk about how to put this together so that this bracelet is adjustable. So for that, I'm going to switch to a different kind of string so you can see what I'm doing. But essentially, I'm going to take these and I'm going to tie a knot across those right there. So this is my larger string example. So what you can see here is we call a sliding barrel knot, and this is the string that the paracord or that the polymer clay beads are on, so you can see how that adjusts. So again, it's pretty hard to see on here for my demo, so I'm going to demonstrate it on this piece of paracord. So I'm going to take these here and overlap them, go in one direction and the other. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to tie that sliding barrel knot over the top of it. For this, a straw is super handy, and the one with the little ridges on it is good. It kind of helps, especially with the smaller thread, kind of keep me in line. So I've got a couple inches hanging out over here. I've got 6 inches or so hanging out over here, and I'm getting ready to tie the barrel knot. So when I tie the barrel knot, I'm going to take these strings that are captured together and I'm going to wrap them around. So as I'm going, I'm wrapping this around and going backwards in the opposite direction. So you can see how I crossed over and I'm heading back this direction, and I'm going to do that 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 full times, and the next time I come around, now I'm going to go through the straw. The whole point of the straw is that it keeps this loop open so that I can get through there. And I should have trimmed this off. That frayed edge is going to make it hard to get through there. So I'm going to knock it off of there. All right, so you shouldn't have that problem with the smaller string. So I'm going to go through the straw, and again, the whole point of the straw is it keeps these loops open so that I can pull this through it. Without doing that, you may have some troubles. So got that through there. Now I'm just gonna tighten these up. I don't want it super tight. If I make it super tight, I may not be able to adjust the bracelet. So now I would like to do a couple things, and again, I'm going to demonstrate it on here just to finish it up. I'm going to go ahead and tie an overhand knot at the end of this, and just again bring it out pretty far, leave some extra hanging out there. And then I don't like all this extra hanging out here. These, I don't want to accidentally, to adjust the bracelet, I need to pull on this, so I don't want to accidentally pull on this string. So I'm going to tie an overhand knot on either side of this one and try to get it right up next to that barrel knot, or that sliding barrel knot, on both sides, and I'm going to end up trimming the extra off. So sometimes it's helpful to tie a couple of those in a row just to keep it from undoing. It's not the strongest knot in the world. It's sometimes likely to untie itself, so I would just trim each of these off here and here so that I'm less likely to pull on the wrong one. So again, when I'm done, I'm going to have a bracelet that if I pull here and pull here, I can adjust the size of that. I can pull it open wide, get my hand in, and then sometimes people use their teeth, grab a hold of one, and then they'll be able to pull with the other string to get it tightened up around your wrist. So go team!